We've all heard the stories, right? El Dorado, the Lost Dutchman's Mine, Blackbeard's legendary hoard. They're the stuff of movies and bedtime stories. But what if I told you that beyond these blockbuster legends, there are hundreds, even thousands of documented lost fortunes just waiting to be found? These aren't myths or historical events recorded in ship logs, court documents, and deathbed confessions. Fortunes that vanished from the map, swallowed by the sea, buried in the earth, or simply forgotten by time. Today, we re-diving deep into the world's most incredible lost treasures that you've probably never heard of. These are the stories that keep treasure hunters up at night. The whispers of immense wealth that are still out there, somewhere, waiting for the right person to come along. So grab your mental shovel and map, because we're going on an adventure. Our first story takes us back to the Age of Discovery, a time of legendary explorers and colossal ships. Let's talk about the Flor do Mar, or Flower of the Sea. This wasn't just any ship. It was a Portuguese carrack, a floating fortress of its time. For nearly a decade, it served under the command of the famous explorer Afonso de Albuquerque. In 1511, Albuquerque conquered the Sultanate of Malacca, a city of unimaginable wealth in modern-day Malaysia. He plundered the royal palace, seizing a treasure so vast it was said to be the largest the Portuguese kingdom had ever assembled. We're talking about tons of gold, chests overflowing with precious gems, diamonds the size of fists, and a collection of priceless artifacts. All this loot was loaded onto the Flor do Mar for its journey back to Portugal. But the sea is a fickle master. As the heavily laden ship sailed through the Strait of Malacca, it was caught in a violent storm. The ship, already old and strained by its heavy cargo, was battered by the waves and ran aground on a reef off the coast of Sumatra. It split in two and sank almost instantly. Albuquerque himself barely escaped with his life, clinging to a makeshift raft, but the treasure, all of it, went down with the ship. The estimated modern value? It's almost impossible to calculate, but conservative figures start in the billions of dollars, with some estimates reaching as high as 9 billion. For centuries, treasure hunters have scoured the coast of Sumatra, but the strong currents, shifting sands, and murky waters have kept the Flower of the Sea and its royal fortune hidden. It's considered by many to be the holy grail of lost shipwrecks, a king's ransom resting on the ocean floor. Now let's jump forward about 400 years and cross the Atlantic to the roaring 20s in New York. This is the era of gangsters, speakeasies, and prohibition. And one of the most notorious figures of this time was a man named Arthur Flegenheimer, better known as Dutch Schultz. Schultz was a ruthless and brilliant mob boss who built a massive empire on illegal beer and the numbers racket. He was making millions, but he had one big problem: the law. A relentless prosecutor named Thomas Dewey was building a major tax evasion case against him, and Dutch knew he was likely headed for a long prison sentence. Fearing the government would seize all his ill-gotten gains, Schultz came up with a plan. He got a custom-made, airtight, waterproof iron box. Into this box, he stuffed an estimated $7 million in cash and Liberty bonds. That's over $150 million in today's money. Then, he drove with his trusted bodyguard, Lulu Rosenkrantz, to a remote location somewhere in the Catskill Mountains in upstate New York. There, under the cover of darkness, they buried the box. Schultz created a cryptic map, a puzzle only he could solve. His plan was to serve his time, get out, and dig up his fortune. But the plan went horribly wrong. Before his trial could even conclude, Schultz, fearing a conviction, made a fatal mistake. He tried to get permission from the mob's ruling body, the Commission, to assassinate prosecutor Thomas Dewey. They refused, fearing the massive crackdown that would follow. But Schultz was insistent. Fearing he would act alone and bring heat on all of them, the Commission ordered a hit on Dutch himself. In October 1935, assassins burst into a Newark chop house and gunned down Schultz and his crew. For over 20 hours, Dutch lingered in a hospital bed, delirious from his wounds, rambling incoherently. The police at his bedside wrote down everything he said, hoping he'd reveal the location of his treasure. He mumbled about maps, trees, and numbers, a stream of consciousness that has been analyzed by treasure hunters for decades. But he never gave up the location. He took the secret of his iron box to his grave. For almost 90 years now, people have been searching the Catskills, armed with metal detectors and Schultz's dying words, all hoping to find the gangsters' lost millions. Our final tale of lost fortune takes us to the desolate, sun-scorched landscapes of the American Southwest during the Great Depression. This is the story of a Mexican millionaire named Leon Trabuco and a secret society of business partners. In the early 1930s, the United States was in financial chaos. The government was about to devalue the dollar by abandoning the gold standard, meaning the price of gold was set to skyrocket. Trabuco and his 16 partners saw a massive opportunity. They began smuggling tons of gold from Mexico into the United States, planning to sit on it until the price peaked, and then sell it for an astronomical profit. Over many months, they amassed a staggering amount of gold, an estimated 16 tons of it. They secretly flew the gold in private planes to a remote, empty stretch of desert in New Mexico, near what is now Elephant Butte Lake. In this vast, unforgiving landscape, they buried their treasure, intending to come back for it when the time was right. But fate, once again, had other plans. The government passed the Gold Act, which made private ownership of gold illegal. Suddenly, Trabuco and his partners couldn't sell their hoard without being arrested. Their plan was ruined. They decided to leave the gold buried and wait. But the wait became permanent. Within a few months, a strange and deadly curse seemed to fall upon the group. One of Trabuco's main partners was found dead under mysterious circumstances. Another vanished without a trace. And then, Leon Trabuco himself was found dead in Los Angeles. The official cause of death was suicide, but many believe he was murdered by a partner who wanted the treasure all for himself. If that's true, the plan failed, because with the deaths of Trabuco and his key associates, the exact location of the 16 tons of gold was lost forever. Treasure hunters have scoured the New Mexico desert ever since, chasing whispers and analyzing old maps. They call it Trabuco's gold, a fortune worth close to $1 billion today. Buried somewhere beneath the sand and sagebrush, guarded by the ghosts of its owners. From the depths of the ocean to the heart of the mountains and the sands of the desert, these stories are more than just tales of lost wealth. They are windows into history, filled with ambition, greed, and tragedy. The Flor du Mar, Dutch Schultz's iron box, Trabuco's desert gold, they're all real. The records exist. The events happened, and the treasures, they're still out there. They remind us that our world still holds deep mysteries, and that sometimes the greatest adventures are the ones hidden in plain sight, waiting for someone with enough luck, determination, or just a new perspective to finally uncover them. Who knows? Maybe one of these days a news headline will announce that one of these legendary fortunes has finally been found. Till then, we can all dream. Thanks so much for joining me on this treasure hunt. If you love stories about history's greatest mysteries, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss our next adventure. See you in the next video.